So, day after shift, I did my update yesterday night, but wanted to get some input from Alex on what it's like to complete your first HI shift.
Oh, man.
So, how did it feel actually going into the field?
I think the beginning of the week, I was very stressed out and sort of high anxiety because I wasn't really fully prepared for it, and so I had to get stuff together and finish a lot of things very quickly. And it's a lot to handle. There's a lot more responsibilities. You have to not only be doing your job, but making sure that your co-staffs are doing their job well.
Mm-hmm.
And that can be difficult, especially when you're working with someone you've never worked with before, because you don't really know how well they supervise, what's their personality like, how are they going to interact with these kids, and so there's a lot of extra factors that you can't really predict that you're responsible for the outcomes of. So let's say if your co-staff gets in a mega power struggle and it results in a kid blowing up, and there could be repercussions from that, where it's like you could, as an HI, it's like, when's your role to step in and be like, hey, I don't think you're communicating effectively to this individual, you could try something different. But so at the beginning of the week, I had 2 co-staffs, which was really nice for 8 kids, and one was an intern. It was his first internship week, so he was brand new, and the other was the field staff, and it was his first field staff week. So first weeks for everybody, and my first HI week. So I kind of thought it was sort of a joke at first. I was like, wait a second, why am I not with someone more experienced? What's sort of the logic behind this setup for a group? But it worked out really well, and I think that I'm also, I don't know, maybe base also felt like it was just a simple, safe way to put people together, because it was 3 big guys, and even if things go to crap, 3 big guys, you can handle a group of 8 kids.
You put the So you went in stressed. How did that change at all throughout the week?
So at the beginning of the week, I was just super, I don't know, one of my co-staff said I was sort of like a chicken with my head cut off. I didn't see it that way. I felt like I was just very much in a hyper state of alertness.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. So, and consequently, communication may have not been as good for the first couple days, but I think that was primarily just due to getting to know my co-staffs, and also they didn't have very clear expectations of what the shift was going to be like, what my style's like, and I told them yeah, I'm pretty chill, which I think I am for the most part, but maybe not when I'm trying to do a job really well like that and under that stress. So it went from, their impression was, okay, this will be chill, chill style, and it was very much, no, you need to be on top of supervision now. But I really enjoyed it. The beginning of the week, kids were really, really sick, and that was a pain to sort of manage. And then once they started getting better, kind of whipped them into shape. Pumped out a good 8-mile hike the day after. A couple of people were still not feeling well, but just kind of pushed them through it.
Nice.
But yeah, and the hiking got people way more productive, and we had some really productive days, and they got way more efficient. They were following protocol and staff directives really well. I didn't have much I guess not many problems, not many people sort of questioning me, and sort of I found that it's important to not make rash decisions, sort of think it out, and when you come to a decision, then stick with it, so people don't question you, and the students just follow what you say, and you gotta hold your ground too when you do it. And then so it's really important to know when to pick battles before doing that, because you might be okay, you guys got 15 minutes to finish your half court. Well, if they get it done in 18 minutes, like, are you going to give them all refusals? Like, is that, like, they don't see the time. So you can be like, okay, good, like, you're done. And they just move on. So, I don't know. There's, like, it's interesting. I thought the role of being sort of, like, holding standards and, like, the consequences for standards, I find is sort of challenging.
Okay.
So, like, let's say a kid doesn't drink his protein, and you're like, okay, the next day is like you can drink 2 proteins, and so at least it gives them a chance to get their
redeem
med
themselves.
get their med treats back, and then so they'll drink them for the rest of the week. Versus them thinking, okay, I already screwed up once, I'm done with the week.
Yeah.
And so I like doing that, and the kids had a lot of fun. Did a lot of groups. I think groups are really, really effective because
I agree.
it's not just like encouraging people to open up in front of their peers, which is huge, like, and being able to work as a group on therapy. Like, it's also the peers get involved in each other's therapy, and they show that they care, or in any sort of like conflicts that are there and tensions get sort of brought out in the open. And I feel like the groups are very effective for resolving like issues like that, because it's not you as a staff trying to confront the person. It's like you're getting a larger amount of people to be like, hey, this, you've got a problem, and this is how it's affecting us, and we want you to fix it. And so that increases the pressure, and it just increases, like, people feel more comfortable with more groups, like, so it's easier for people to open up. People are like then can joke around more. Students become more friendly to each other, and it just creates a very positive environment. And
so the students kind of understand where each one of them is at in their therapeutic journey. They know better what boundaries are, and therefore they're more comfortable joking around, opening up, because they realize what they have in common, what their differences are, and how to proceed from there.
Yeah, and so like I guess groups I did sort of like beginning of the week. I think it was not the first day, maybe it was the second day when people weren't as sick, and we moved camp, so we got out of a crappy shelter and got to a better shelter. But we did a group sort of just on like what people were expecting the week to be like, what they wanted to see in the group change, like how they were going to do it. And so I just kind of wrote down goals and stuff like that to see sort of from start to finish, like how people work on the group. And
were those goals achieved?
I'd say, yeah, for the most part. We actually didn't do a group summarizing that, and we did a different group, which I thought was more important. So that was the first, like, sort of start off the week. I mean, we did an intro group, like, and then we did that group the next day. And I thought it was interesting because, like, the students in the group I was working with, they said that they didn't really do groups for, like, weeks.
Huh.
And I was, like, kind of taken back by that because I've just seen, like, groups work really well in adult programs, like, where they're doing a group every night, like, and they just loved it. And so, like, these kids were like, these groups are awesome. We want to do more groups.
Wow.
And I was like, okay, you want to do more groups? We'll do more groups. And sort of, like, they were looking for that. And then I think the next day we did an ego states group, which I think I run a pretty good ego states group. It's long. Takes like at least 2 hours to do, because like I go around, we go through the ego states, like having kids take turns saying what they think they are, or the older kids explaining it, so we get a good like foundation of what they are, and then we sort of put them into practice where basically each student says what ego states, which 2 ego states they feel like they fit that week, and then and why, and then you go to the you do that all the way around, and then you do also Alex is getting the laundry machine. It looks like it's gonna blow up. All good?
Very important to actually wash all your clothes coming off of shift, especially when your entire group got sick that week.
It gets dirty again, right?
yeah, the second you step out into the field. But anyways,
But yeah, so like we go around and each person says what ego states they think they are, and then the group goes around and each person tells for each individual, everyone tells them what 2 ego states they feel like they fit
wow.
and why. So that's sort of like it's very much a feedback sort of like, and they don't get to
Yeah.
respond. It's just like, here, I think you fit these ego states, and we sped it up because it's for time's sake. Whereas like the person who is getting the feedback gets to pick 2 people to explain why.
Oh,
So then it's like, okay, so I don't know, maybe I want a staff to explain why, and this other student who I trust and feel like they have a good sort of perspective, or someone who they don't like, might be a newer person. They just want to know what their perspective is like.
interesting.
So I like that dynamic, because then it kind of also puts like someone saying like, hey, I appreciate your opinion, not just I want to hear your opinions instead of everyone else's for time's sake. And I think that also builds like some good things. And then we go around and staff goes through each kid and tells them what's up, tells them what ego states they think they are. And it works the same for staff. So staff get feedback from the students, and staff give staff feedback during that group.
Seriously?
Yep.
Oh, wow.
So that's how I do ego states.
Dang.
And so by the end of it, everyone is fluent with the language of ego states.
Uh-huh.
They know what they are. They know what people sort of like kind of are examples for those traits
Uh-huh.
or characteristics. And yeah, and it also brings out like the main point of the group is to bring about personal awareness.
Mm-hmm.
And I think you can't get enough of that. So
Wow, that's awesome. Sounds like you had a really productive week therapeutically. You actually made it to zone.
yeah, I made it to zone. The only group to make it to zone.
And you actually, yeah, sounds like you did end up having a good week. A bit rough at first. I mean, and for those who are not aware, we do not, when we made a joke about having beat down earlier, that is in no way literal.
That doesn't really happen.
But it helps when you have 3 male staff who are tall and have a very physical presence, just to make sure no one tries anything dumb. But yeah,
Yeah, like a lot of groups. Did feedback groups at the end. Did orange lemon light bulb groups.
what's
Have
the
you
light
heard-
bulb? I know the orange and the lemon, sweet and sour.
So-
what's the light bulb?
And
Like an
light
aha
bulb
moment?
is like aha
Oh,
moment.
okay.
It's like something that you learned that you thought was sort of like really stimulating, or some crazy idea that you're like, whoa, that's fascinating.
Cool.
And I think that brings about sort of a creative side to those groups. But
Cool.
yeah, no, like really fun times. Like people made serious progress. We got alternative fires pumping out. People became phase complete. Solo VQ done. That was awesome.
Nice.
Yeah, like they got really good at shelters. Like, they were making the best circus shelters I've ever seen.
Wow.
Like you wouldn't get
That's
smoked out in them.
fantastic.
Yeah. So they were warm enough, you weren't getting smoked out. We ended up doing like for the chimney, on the shelter, we had, because usually you have, let's say you have 2 tarps put together like a circus shelter.
Yeah.
And then you have, so I'm going to switch this way. Like here you have like a opening, and you have like a cross beam that makes sort of an X.
So like this. Here's your little cross.
Yeah. And so so the smoke can get out. Well, we put 2 sticks in there to make it more rectangular. So it makes a nice long slit. So then if it rains, the rain's not coming in as much because it's not like a square, but you have kind of a longer slit for the smoke to come out.
Oh,
And
that's
that
awesome.
seemed to work really, really well.
I'm gonna have to try that.
Yeah,
That's
I'd recommend it. It was Tim's idea, and it
Wow.
worked really well.
Because getting smoked out of your shelter is one of the worst things.
Mhm.
Because you can't see, you can't breathe.
Yeah.
You just get frustrated and irritated at everything and everyone around you just because
And
everything sucks in that moment.
And I think like it's important to let people struggle through shelters, but it's also important to show them this is how you do it right. Here's a good model. And so I felt like the group didn't have a good model because the shelter they made was horrible. It was literally, you had to crouch to get into it for a circus shelter, and we had I came to the camp and there was basically the 3 people who were really sick were all in one corner, just in their sleeping bags. We had like a quarantine zone, and I mean it makes a lot of sense to do that, but like everyone was just getting smoked out, and then it's just if you're sick, you don't want to be inhaling campfire smoke all night and during the day, like it's horrible. So, yeah, not fun. But
Awesome.
we did double A frames. They didn't know how to do that because a lot of these kids come in, newer ones, they've just been doing circus shelters. They have no clue how to do double A frame.
Wow, I did not know that.
So, like, it's important to check with your kids. Be like, hey, what shelters do you know how to do? And because double A frames, if it's going to snow really bad and you need it warm, like, but just you're going to get hit with heavy weather, they're great because, like, they can withstand a storm. They can have snow pile up on them. They're fine.
Yeah.
Like, circus shelter, if it's going to rain, maybe not the best bet, or, like, heavy winds. Like, a cypress shelter is better for heavier rains. Like, you get more smoked out because you don't have the opening. But so, and then, yeah, we did double A. We did a floating A-frame when we lost our red suit, and that seemed to, it was kind of a cool change in pace, but really freaking cold. And the kids learned, like, okay, like, this shelter's cool, but it doesn't keep us warm.
Yeah.
And so from then on, they're going to be like, okay, we want a double A frame or a circus shelter. Because they were like, I don't really want to do a double A frame, but we had to vote. And because I told them, I was like, hey, we're doing other shelters this week. Like, you need to learn. So it's either do it tonight or do it tomorrow. And they're like, okay, we'll do it tonight because it's easy to set up. And then the next day, they're like, we just want to sleep in that again. Because it actually was really warm, you know? So, like, you can't have a fire in a double A frame, but it keeps you warm. Your sleeping bags get wet if you don't make it big enough.
Yeah.
But you do stay warm.
Sweet.
Yeah, and that was cool to see. Like, I really sort of, I need to perfect a way to speed up camp breakdown process. And I think the only way you can really do that is just overhike them.
So that they know they have to get it done quickly. Like,
Yeah.
to hike, and before it's dark, they have to set up again and do wood runs, possibly a water run. That makes sense.
Water runs like get tough this time of year because you have to do them before it gets dark, especially if you have a red suit. So, like, I was fighting to, okay, you gotta get water, like, we gotta do a wood run, and which becomes difficult because you're trying to supervise all these kids in the dark. And yeah, and so the kids, I found they got really efficient with camp setup. Like, they could set up very fast because, like, I was pushing them on really tough hikes that they spend way too much time doing the hike, just kind of making excuses and having to fix their packs and all sorts of things. And natural consequence, like, when people start holding the group up, like, the group gets set behind, it gets dark, people don't have time to, like, get camp set up before it gets dark. And so camp setup was very fast. Camp breakdown still never got efficient. So, like, it was still, we're leaving camp like 11, 12 o'clock. And I wasn't going to wake them up before the sun. Like, once it got light up, I was like, okay, we're getting up.
Yeah.
Because, like, if you get them up earlier, unless there's a fire going, which means you need to start the fire, then people are just going to get really cold.
Yep.
So, and I didn't want to do that because I wanted them to have their own initiative to be like, start the fire. And it was cool to see the older kids were stepping back. They're like, you know, we do sort of this work a lot, and we're enabling you guys. So we're not going to start the fire. And I was like, dead on. And so it'd be like, it forced the younger students to, or I wouldn't say younger, but the newer students to step up and be like, I'm cold, I need to start this fire.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it kind of put more responsibility on them. Or, like, I'd be like, if I saw a kid working and doing a lot of chores and he starts to go crush coals, I'd be like, no, like, you go chill. Like, someone else can do coals right now. And so it put that responsibility, like, forcing people to actually work, which consequently, like, the camp setup or camp breakdown takes a lot longer because you're not letting people just work their hearts out and get out of there quicker.
Right.
So, like, and I think
That's
the more
cool.
you consistently hike and the more people sort of go, okay, we're hiking today. It's just, this is a hiking program. This is what we do. We're going to hike. And so they just suck it up, pack it, like, clean it up. They're not, like, trying to use the lat, because I caught kids just, like, they want to go use the lat to get out of camp breakdown,
Yeah.
like, to get out of work. And there was literally a student who came back from just cutting corners like crazy, and got to camp from our water run, went to the lat. Like, hour later, he's like, I need to use the lat. I'm like, you just use the lat. I'm not going to tell you no, but you're completely full of crap. You know, like, and not in the crap that you figuratively need to poop out. Because he didn't need to. He was just wasting time. And, like, and then I said it loud enough where his peers caught on to it. And so even if he is going to the bathroom, like, he knows he has been cutting corners, and now his peers have an excuse to be like, hey, you are, like, you used the lat twice today, like, already. Like, that doesn't make any sense. Like, and so they're calling him out on it, in which maybe he was actually pooping twice, but he still feels like, oh, shoot, I must be slacking somewhere.
Yeah.
Because these kids are, like, calling me out. And I felt like it's a lot better to have the students call each other out than staff.
Yeah.
Because, like, for instance, there was one student, our red suit student, who is very manipulative and likes to get out of work when he can if he doesn't feel like it. And I just, like, put it on the group, so they got frustrated at him, and eventually, like, some of the older students just completely called him out, like, and they didn't know if he was faking throwing up, but they called him out on it, and then he confessed.
Oh, wow.
So he was like, yeah, I'm sorry. Like, later on, he's like, I was, like, milking this. Like, I was trying to get out of this work by trying to fake my nauseousness a little bit. And so that's where it's like, holy cow, great steps. Kudos for the red suit for, like, making that initiative to be like, I was fake with you guys. It's like, it doesn't mean he's not going to do it again, but at least he's trying to be honest with his peers, and that's where you start rebuilding trust with peers.
And that's positive peer pressure working therapeutically.
Yeah,
That's incredible.
sure.
And that's, yeah, I agree. I've seen some students, when the group actually does, when they call each other out and they actually invest in each other, that's when sometimes the most progress is made, because they know it's not just, oh, it's another adult, it's another staff, another teacher. It's, oh, wow, this other guy who's my same age and has thinks similarly, has similar experiences. Like, oh, he sees something as well, and sometimes that means a lot more to them than when it comes from us.
That extra validation is really important.
Yeah. That's awesome that you were able to do that and create
Yeah,
an actual.
And
It sounds like you had a really positive you helped create a very positive therapeutic environment in that group.
yeah, and people were respected really well, and, like, I think it's important also to shut down bullying when you see it. Like, because we did have bullying in our group, and, like, and you gotta break people up, get them away from each other, like, talk about it, like, one-on-one stuff, like, really just kind of cut it down. And not just the bully, but also the person being bullied, because it's a lot of it's how they handle it. So a bully is looking for feedback. He's wanting to know that he is hurting you or bullying you or getting some sort of response that makes them feel good and powerful. And so by, like, if you can teach the person being bullied how to not give in to that and how to not give that response without trying to create a fight, you stop bullying.
Nice.
Then the bully's like, okay, well, shoot, I kind of feel like a jerk. They're like, oh, I'm not feeling better about myself. Like, they kind of put me in my place, like, without, in a mature manner.
Yeah.
And you do that, and then you don't, I mean, yeah, you could talk to the bully and be like, try to convince them that, hey, what you're doing is wrong. But is that really going to work? No, not always, because they're doing that for the sole purpose because they feel like it makes them feel good. So they might know it's wrong, but they're doing it because they want to.
Yeah.
Versus the student who doesn't like getting it done to him, you're way more effective in teaching them how to handle bullies and make bullying ineffective to them.
Nice.
So that's like another
Nice.
thing people don't really think about.
Sweet.
But
Well, we've now
Yeah.
hit 25 minutes.
there you go. You got your 25-minute talk.
It's supposed to be
Yeah,
5,
free.
but that was a really good talk, and I appreciate you actually taking the time to talk about your insights and share those insights.
Do you want to hear my mess ups this week?
I think we better save that for another time.
Because those
yeah.
are all just good things, I suppose.
I really do appreciate you helping me out with the blog and with the vlogs that go
Appreciate what
with
you're
it.
doing. Like, this will help other people out.
Yeah, that way if anyone is even interested in wilderness therapy and what it's like, and they get, before necessarily jumping into it, they can maybe see a little bit and understand a little bit more of what it's like and know up front, like, hey, this is for me, this, knowing what it's like a little bit more, like, hey, I actually would like to go do that, or maybe not, but that
Yeah.
way they don't go into a training and like have one thing in their mind and then it be something totally different. They can hopefully make a more informed decision, because it definitely is an interesting job. I thoroughly enjoy it. Not every day is good, but it's good work. And
I think this is sort of similar to journaling, except it takes a lot less time.
that too. And it's a lot more
Right.
fun.
Yeah, there you go.
So,
So build up some speaking, interpersonal communication skills then.
heck yeah. So for anyone watching, thanks for watching it through to the end. And yeah, I
This
hope
guy.
for anyone that's interested, I hope this helps you make a decision on whether or not you would like to look into wilderness therapy yourself. So, till next time, see you on the other side.